The post-Endor period of Legends is full of various super Star Destroyers, from the Executor's sister ship Lucenkia to the Eclipse and various background ships of Dark Empire, not to mention the others that turn up in the decades after that as well. One of the most famous ships is the Executor-class Iron Fist, the flagship of the powerful Warlord Zsinj, which turns up in both the X-Wing series and Courtship of Princess Leia, where it was taken down with the help of the Hapen fleet. While this is the supership people would typically have in mind when thinking of Warlord Zsinj, there's actually another supership that Zsinj apparently had. To learn about this one, we have to go pretty deep into the dark world of one-off mentioned source books and encyclopedias. Courtship of Princess Leia and the X-Wing series don't give any indication of Zsinj having another Super Star Destroyer, but the complete Star Wars encyclopedia has this entry for the ship Sovereign, which is, quote, a Super Star Destroyer used by Warlord Zsinj. Other planned ships in the line include the Autarch, the Despot, and the Heresiarch. Now, the Sovereign class had been part of Legends for a long time. It's basically a sister class to the Emperor's powerful Eclipse class in Dark Empire. It doesn't make an appearance in any of the books featuring Zsinj, and it doesn't even appear directly in Dark Empire. Instead, it was introduced by the Dark Empire sourcebook, an RPG sourcebook covering the Dark Empire comics where Palpatine makes his return. It doesn't have much of a depiction of the ship, though we do get a profile view of it next to the Eclipse. The mod I run for Empire at War, Thrawn's Revenge, has a really old model of it, fleshing out that profile a bit, which is what you're seeing here, but again, super old, so sorry, it doesn't look great. According to the Dark Empire sourcebook, even at the time of the Emperor's return, the lead ship of the class, the Sovereign, is still under construction, which is clearly the one that gets attributed to Zsinj because the same names for the other ships of the class, the Autarch, the Despot, and the Heresiarch, are still listed as ships of the same class, so it's definitely intended to be the same set of ships here. Part of the problem with this, aside from Zsinj owning a ship under construction at Biss, which he never uses, is that Zsinj dies about 3 years before even Dark Empire takes place, despite the ship still being under construction at that point. Especially considering the encyclopedia says Zsinj used the Sovereign rather than that he was building it. It seems pretty weird and not especially easy to reconcile. Now, the RTS game, Forces of Corruption, does establish the Eclipse as having been under construction even by the time of the Battle of Endor, so it is possible that the retcon here would be to say that the Sovereign was as well. And then, after Endor, maybe a super ship with a super laser was a huge target for someone like Zsinj to take, so he maybe took over the shipyard that was building it, and then when Zsinj died and his territory was falling apart, the ship may have made its way to Biss to be completed with many of the other Imperial assets that did the same thing. This is something I've actually spoken to Eckhart's Ladder a bit about as well, and he remembers there being a mention of a ship named Sovereign in the audiobook version of Courtship of Princess Leia, so it is possible that this mention in the encyclopedia came from an attempt to connect Courtship with Dark Empire. I don't have that audiobook, so I can't listen to it for myself, but I do know the print version has no mention of it, and the Battle of Dathomir would have looked very different if the Hapens were fighting both Iron Fist and a super laser equipped SSD like the Sovereign. So what do you think? Is this an intentional setup or an unfortunate miscommunication? Let me know in the comments. Either way, hope you've enjoyed the video. Remember to leave a like and subscribe for more if you're not already, and if there are any suggestions you have for future video topics, leave those in the comments as well. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.